What is the strategy of the Democratic Party as we approach midterm elections in the fall? Will they put all their money down on just being anti-Trump? Will they? Can they gain traction with any kind of positive message? Can the Dems pick up the 24 seats they'll need to seize control of the House of Representatives? Joining us to help answer those questions is the new kid on the Liberty Nation block, Joe Schaefer, longtime author and editor for the Washington Times. He wrote a piece on LN this week entitled Dem Voice of Reason on Working Class Outreach Won't Be Heard. And Joe joins us now. Joe, welcome to Liberty Nation Radio.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Donner. Good to be here.
Oh, Mr. Donner. Immediate respect ordinarily reserved for my father, but to the matter at hand, in your article, Joe, you discuss the governor of Montana, who calls himself the only Democrat in the country to get reelected in a state where Donald Trump won in the 2016 election. How did he do it, and what's the lesson for the Democratic Party for 2018?
Well, he did it by appealing to the people of his own state, Montana. He's an outdoorsman. He positions himself as friendly to tax cuts. And in 2016, he was not stridently pro-gun control. He was against universal background checks. But he's trying to position himself for a run for president now. So he's beginning to realize what all Democrats realize: you have to play to their base. So now he's come out and said he's for universal background checks. So this is sort of the problem Democrats have. He can say when he won in 2016, it was because he reached out to the other side of the aisle. I showed up in places where there weren't just Democrats. I engaged and I listened. That's what he said is the reason he won. Well, you can't do that in a Democratic primary. You have to reach out to the very uniform political views these people have. And so you see him already doing that. He's calling for a ban on assault rifles. He wants universal background checks now. So with Democrats, it's always, you have to appeal to your base in the primary. And then in the general, you have to be able to reach out to everyone. With the Democrats, they go so far to the left on the primary, it makes it very difficult for them to reach out to everyone in the general election.
Well, let's broaden the scope a little bit here. Have you seen, heard, witnessed any evidence that the Democrats intend to offer the voters anything beyond uninterrupted hatred for Donald Trump?
Well, yeah, they're going to offer more of the same that they tried to offer in 2016, which is identity politics. And they're very uniform in positions that they think the American people want and that they don't want. We ran an article this week about how House Democrats, their campaign arm, has identified 63 candidates that they feel have a promising challenge to flip GOP House seats so they can win the House. 62 of those 63 support expanded background checks for gun purchases. So this is not just in a viewpoint that they're trying to push. This is a uniform viewpoint. This is a party line. And this is not what the American people are interested in, I don't think, at this time of year. They're not interested in impeaching Donald Trump. They're not interested in gun control. They're interested in jobs. They want the manufacturing base back in this country. They want to know that their government is looking out for them, their day-to-day interests. And the Democrats, they don't really have a lot to offer on that. They also push this idea of a pink wave is something that they push because a bunch of women won Democratic primaries. Well, it's it's not surprising that they could position identity politics to win a Democratic primary. But where's the evidence that that's going to help you in a general election? Just being a woman is not going to win you a seat in Congress in America in 2018, I really don't believe that. You have to have some ideas. You have to be able to reach out to the American working class. And Democrats don't have the ideas for the working people. So it's impeach Trump, identity politics, gun control, but they're not addressing the concerns of the American people.
I thought 2016 was going to be the year of the, maybe not women, but woman, that Hillary Clinton was going to, ascend to the highest office in the land, and we would celebrate the rise of women in power. Of course, it didn't work out. They hope it does this time. As we continue with Joe Schaefer of LibertyNation.com. Joe, is it a slam dunk that the Democrats will immediately introduce articles of impeachment against Trump if they gain the majority in the House?
I think it's definitely going to happen. I don't know how immediate, but again, to go back to what I was saying, they don't have a lot else to offer. And also part of what they're trying to do here is to just obstruct Trump as much as possible. So impeachment is another way to gum up the works, to keep him from pushing his agenda. So that's a win-win for them. They don't have to win this impeachment argument. Even if they impeach him in the House, it's never going to go through the Senate. He's not going to be removed from office. I think we all know that. This is just obstructing his agenda, which is, of course, what they want to do. And so based on that, they don't have any arguments for what Trump is trying to do for the country. I think it's a pretty sure thing that, yes, they will reach out and do that as soon as they can.
Is the specter of impeachment actually overblown? You just discussed it and said, and I think rightfully, that they'll never get a conviction in the Senate to boot Trump out of office. And when Clinton was impeached, he left office 2 years later at about 60% approval. People thought that the Republicans had overreached. Are the Democrats delusional to think impeaching Trump will solve all their problems?
I think they are. I think it's actually their base that is more delusional. I think the leadership, Nancy Pelosi has expressed her reservations. You have to appeal to the base to a certain extent, but there's nothing productive that's going to come out of this. I think people would realize that. But again, what they want to do is obstruct him. So based on that, they'll do it. I don't think that's going to be very effective either. What it comes down to, again, to reiterate, they have to have some ideas to reach out to the American people. A great example of this whole impeachment thing being overblown is the news out of Iowa with the tragic death of Molly Tibbetts. Now, for real Americans who aren't plugged into these, left and East and West Coast Democratic environments, the murder of Molly Tibbetts by an illegal alien, she's jogging. She's not in Brooklyn. She's not in L.A. She's jogging in her hometown in Iowa, and she's murdered by an illegal alien. That hits home with the American people so much more than this Mueller investigation, Manafort, Cohen, impeach. That's not really hitting home with the American people. The American people see an illegal alien murdering a college girl in Iowa. They see the Democratic Party all in supporting illegal aliens, immigration, refugees, and the message comes home to the American people. They don't care about us. And I don't see how impeaching Donald Trump is going to change that message.
To what extent do you think voters separate Trump from congressional Republicans? Might Trump be like Barack Obama in the sense that his personal popularity, especially among his core supporters, won't translate to his party writ large?
Well, that's an interesting question. I'm not sure if I can answer it the way you want. What I would say is, Trump is different from the congressional Republicans for sure. One of the things that Trump is trying to do and has to do is make over the party as the Trump Republican Party, as opposed to the Paul Ryan Republican Party, the Mitch McConnell Republican Party. So, it's a very interesting question, and I'm not sure how to answer it the way you want to, but I would separate Trump from the Republican Party. And that is a thing that makes Trump stronger. It makes him better. So for Democrats to think they're going to get some kind of partisan victory over Republicans, I don't think that'll hurt Donald Trump at all.
Well, I think you make a good point. Trump is really the first independent president who knew he had to run in one of the major parties to win, but he is not from your father's Republican Party, that's for sure. Thanks for joining us, Joe.
Thank you.
Joe Schaefer, national correspondent for LibertyNation.com.